So today we're going to clear up a very common misunderstanding. So people often say that they're antisocial, when they actually really mean is they're asocial.
Yes.
So these two words look similar, but in psychology they describe completely different things.
Yes.
And because our channel deals with behavior, crime, and personality patterns, getting the distinction right actually matters.
For sure. Because, but most people aren't, they're not trying to be dramatic when they use the wrong one, are they? They've just heard antisocial used in like everyday conversation and then assumed it means someone who doesn't like going out or prefers to keep to themselves. But that's not antisocial at all, as you get quite triggered about on lives and things. But that is you do. It's very funny. But that's asocial, right? And asocial simply means that you're just not seeking social interaction at a particular point. And it can be because you're tired, you want your own space, or just not in the mood. I mean, we've all been in that place, haven't we? We've all had those moments. It's a preference, not a behaviour problem. It's not pathology, is it?
Yeah, this is it. Whereas antisocial, on the other hand, is a clinical term, which is linked to antisocial personality disorder, which appears in the ICD-11 and DSM. And it's associated with persistent patterns of violating social rules. So things like lying, manipulation, aggression, recklessness, or just a complete general disregard for other people's rights. And that's the territory of criminal behavior. So not someone skipping a dinner invitation. So when someone casually says, "Oh, I'm antisocial," the word they're actually reaching for is almost always asocial.
Yes. I mean, if they actually are antisocial, worry, right?
Well, they're not going to tell you, are they?
Hopefully not. Or maybe it'd be hopeful that they would. Anyway, the reason that mix-up happens is really simple, isn't it? Because the word antisocial just sounds like it should mean against socializing. So then, people just use it for shorthand, don't they, for not wanting company. And it's just an intuitive mistake. But in psychology, the term grew out of criminology, not social preference. And that's why the meaning is so specific and why Paul gets so triggered, isn't it? Because it's not about avoiding people, antisocial. It's about causing harm or disruption, right?
Right,
So
and this is it. And that's what makes it more confusing, is that antisocial behavior has nothing to do with whether someone enjoys social events.
Right.
A person with antisocial traits, for example, can be talkative, can be charming, and can actually be very socially active. They may even enjoy being around others if it benefits them.
Yes.
So being sociable doesn't rule out antisocial behavior at all, and this is the thing. And being quiet doesn't indicate it.
Right.
And that's where everyday language drifts away from clinical definitions, I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, meanwhile, someone who's completely asocial can be kind, thoughtful, perfectly socially functional in terms of norms, right? They just prefer less social contact, or maybe just need space at certain times. And asociality isn't harmful. And that's the big thing. It doesn't cause problems, and it doesn't have a moral weight to it. It's more like a style of interacting with the world, Because some people would seek more social stimulation, and then some people just seek less. That's all it is.
Right. The problem is that people often lump avoidance, disinterest, and harm under the same umbrella when they're actually completely different mechanisms. Asociality is simply a low drive for social engagement. So social anxiety is avoidance driven by fear of embarrassment or scrutiny, whereas antisocial behavior is the disregard for norms and other people's rights. They sit in completely different categories.
Right. So you can have 3 people who all skip a party, but for totally different reasons. One doesn't feel like it, one is anxious about it, and one just doesn't care about upsetting anyone. And those are 3 separate things, right? It's really important. But everyday language sometimes treats them as if they're completely identical, the total same.
And I think that's the reason. I think it's always worth explaining.
Yeah.
If someone says that they're antisocial because they've turned down dinner plans, they're describing something that isn't even remotely close to the clinical
Right.
meaning.
Right.
Asocial behavior is defined by actions, not moods. And that's the distinction. It's not about being quiet or private. It's about violating boundaries, exploiting others, or repeatedly breaking rules, you know?
Right, absolutely. Whereas asocial behaviour is simply the absence of social motivation in that moment. It's neutral. It doesn't create conflict. It doesn't break rules, and it doesn't harm anyone. It's just reduced social interest. That's it.
I think a helpful way to think of it is this. Asocial describes preference. Antisocial describes behavior. So one's about wanting less interaction. The other's about how someone treats other people.
Yes,
So when we're
nice.
looking at criminal behavior, the antisocial category is tied to patterns that usually start in adolescence and then persist into adulthood.
Right. But you can see, can't you, how the confusion happens? Because
Sure.
someone doesn't want to go out, they call themselves antisocial. Their friends repeat it, and then after a while it becomes like the phrase that everyone uses, but it's just simply the wrong label. And because the word has a specific clinical meaning in psychology and forensic work, it really is worth, and especially for us as doing what we're doing, keeping the two very separate and clear and defined.
Right. And if someone is genuinely displaying antisocial traits, you wouldn't identify it from whether they enjoyed social events.
Right.
You'd identify it from consistent behavioral patterns, you know, things like repeated deception, manipulating others for gain, things like that, ignoring consequences or refusing to follow rules. And none of that has anything to do with turning down plans for the evening. You know?
One hopes, anyway. Yeah. But, okay, so the takeaway is pretty straightforward then. Asocial means someone prefers to be alone or isn't seeking social contact at that time. Antisocial means behaviour that goes against social rules and often harms others. So two very similar words, but completely different meanings, right?
Right. And if you're someone who likes your own company or you occasionally need time away from people, you're simply being asocial.
Right.
It's not a criminal profile. It's not a personality disorder. It's a preference. The
Right.
mistake comes from the language, not the behavior.
Right. And then once you know the distinction, it just becomes easier to describe exactly what's happening, what's actually happening, rather than kind of relying on borrowed terms that don't fit.
Yeah,
Right?
this is it. So now you know. Don't get
There
it
we go.
wrong.
And don't trigger Paul.
Don't trigger me.